Hello again, I am Blunty. Now, in yesterday's video, I took a look at these, which is the Pocket Spotlight from PhotoJojo, and we discovered they are a terrific bargain for a tiny little pocket-sized light that's really good on sort of mirrorless cameras and DSLRs, but especially for those of you who shoot on your camera phones and such. They're just terrific, you know. You can put it in your pocket, in your bag, you never know you're carrying them until you need it, and that's what makes them fantastic. But what if you're outdoors, shooting in direct sunlight? While it can be kind of helpful to fill in some little shadows if you're particularly close to the camera, in particular because you can get this close to your subject and keep it out of frame. But what if your subject is a little further away? You know, this isn't, bright enough to drown out the sun, let's be fair. So you need another option, and that's where this comes in. This is the PhotoJojo Photix photography specialists. They call it the Pocket Reflector, and it is exactly that. Now, this isn't new technology. This isn't a new idea or anything like that. Reflectors have been around for quite some time now, but they're almost always quite large, so they can be, not that easy to carry around and a bit awkward to handle, particularly if you're doing a self-shoot, like if you had a camera in one hand and you're trying to use the reflector in the other hand. It's awkward and doesn't really work that well, and that's where this comes in, because as you saw, it folds up into, that kind of size, a size that can slip into your pocket just bewilderingly easily. It comes with a little pouch you can slide in your bag, and just like those little lights we talked about, it is so small and so light that you can slip it in your pocket or your bag or whatnot, and you will never ever notice you're carrying it. There is no bulk or burden to lug around until you actually need it, and that's when it can become invaluable. Now, if you're not familiar with what these do, you can probably guess by now by me pointing it at the light over there. It's designed to reflect light, as the name may imply. So silver side, reflecting a lot of direct light, very useful, filling in shadows and things like that, and supplementing lighting, even if you're in the studio. So if I turn off one of these lights over here, so I'm all in shadow over here, and I can use this reflector to light up, there we go, that side of my face. So if you've only got one light handy, then this is a really cheap and expensive way to essentially start shooting with a dual light setup. And I've got to be honest with you, because this is a relatively small diameter, this white reflective side doesn't really do much of a job in most circumstances. It just doesn't have the surface area to reflect a lot of light. The white side works really well on the bigger reflectors, but they're big and bulky and awkward to use one-handed. We talked about that already. But the silver side works brilliantly outdoors, and I've got a bunch of stuff that I shot with this to show you as we're talking about it. So all of this is shot, no additional lights, and I'm showing you the before and after so you can kind of get a really good idea of the difference the reflector can make just simply by moving sunlight to the other side of stuff. You can sort of bring out details and highlight your subject so you get a better idea of what your focus is. And beyond using this to move light around, you can actually use this to stop light. You can use it as a shade, like in this example of this statue I shot. So here's just how the statue looked in the direct sun, so you can see fairly harsh shadows, very direct sun, no clouds in the skies to diffuse the light. So I used the reflector to actually shield the light from the shadow to even out those things. That way I can bring the exposure up and it looks much more gentle and natural and soft and just lovely, really. And here's an example of me using the reflector to, instead of blocking out the light, to try and fill in the shadows on the other side, bouncing the sunlight around, which was a little difficult to position because it was under a tree, so I had to find a position where I could get this into a beam of sunlight and then reflect it up into the shadow and stuff. So a little bit tricky, but certainly can be done. And from the back side here, again, similar thing. One just natural, one where I've used the reflector to fill in those harsh shadows and make it just a little more pleasant and gentle, depending on what kind of look you're after. Maybe you want the harsh shadows, maybe you don't. The point is, whacking one of these in your bag or your pocket doesn't cost you any weight or bulk or anything, just like the light. Just like I said in the beginning of this video, you can carry it around all day, every day, and never even notice you're carrying it. But when you need it, oh, it's invaluable. And one of my favorite things about these, beyond the bewilderingly usefulness, is the fact that it does that. And because it's small, it's really easy to fold up again. You get the big ones, sometimes you get like pop-up tents like that, and they're just a nightmare to fold. The screen on the background I'm using here, this big oblong thing, it's such a nightmare to fold up. This one is at least easy to fold up and fling out again. And of course, you will find yourself at some point kind of bored or waiting for the light to change or waiting for someone to go away or waiting for some noise to die down or something. And you can just sit there and play with this thing for minutes on end, because there's something deliriously, childishly playful about flicking this thing open. It's like a superhero weapon. Nearly knocked over my drink. That wasn't the smartest move I've ever done, but that is the PhotoJojo pocket reflector, and it makes a brilliant complement to the pocket spotlight thing I was talking about in the last video. Between the two, you know, you've got all your lighting conditions covered. If you're in bad light, or you just need a little bit of fill light, or you know, you're working indoors or something, then this is just brilliant. If you're outdoors or something, then this is what you need. Between the two, you know, you're unstoppable out in the world, basically. You've got all your lighting conditions covered, and all without adding any bulk to your kit bag. It's brilliant, and I love it. And I have to admit, when I first spotted these in PhotoJojo, I thought, well, that's too small to be practical. But as I've shown you in the shots that you've been seeing throughout this review, it is brilliant, to use exactly the right word. Get it? Get brilliance. That it's I just found out it can also be used as a fairly effective frisbee. They fly really well. Thanks for watching. I am Blunty. Hope this has been helpful to you out there, and I'll catch you next time.